Hi everyone, welcome to Difference Frames the World, an independent channel where you can see the world differently. Today, we discuss the competition between China and the US in the space field, and how the Wolf Amendment has affected China's space technology development. Since Chinese astronauts embarked on the journey into space, the United States' attitude towards China's space development has undergone tremendous changes. The successful launch of the Shenzhou 19 spaceship several days ago surprised the US, as it signals China has caught up with the United States step by step. 6 Chinese astronauts formed a big family in China's Tiangong space station several days ago, and shortly, 3 of them successfully returned to Earth on November 4, 2024, unlike their American counterparts stranded in the International Space Station. Some wondered why NASA did not ask China to take 2 American astronauts back to Earth. The answer is simple: it cannot, as the Wolf Amendment does not permit NASA to cooperate with the Chinese in the space field. Instead of developing its space technology and taking the lead in the space field, the US wanted to stop China's development in space. A decade ago, the US Congress passed the Wolf Amendment to forbid NASA from working with the Chinese government and entities in space research unless approved by Congress or the FBI. As we have discussed the Wolf Amendment in many videos, we will not elaborate on it in this video in detail. The United States was the leader in the space field, and it used to look down upon China's space industry. Now the situation has changed dramatically. In a public speech not long ago, NASA Director Nelson changed his previous warning tone and expressed his hope to cooperate with China in lunar research. However, he forgot to ask Congress or the FBI for a waiver before he could get involved in China's lunar research. The problem is, even if he gets a waiver from Capitol Hill or the FBI, the Chinese side may not be interested in America's cooperation. Unless the US abolishes the Wolf Amendment, there will be no substantial cooperation between China and the United States in the space field. China is not motivated to cooperate with Americans, as it can hardly get any help from NASA. The US claimed its astronauts had set foot on the moon in the late 1960s, but 55 years after that landing, NASA encountered numerous problems sending its spacemen to the moon again. NASA is going in the wrong direction, going farther away from the moon instead of approaching it. The rapid development of China's space industry in recent years, like the Moon and Mars exploration, has attracted extraordinary attention from NASA. China's achievements in the space field have compelled the United States to re-examine its space strategy. Due to technical problems, 2 US astronauts, who had been scheduled to stay in the International Space Station for only 8 days, have to extend their stay in space to 8 months. Seeing its problems in the space field, the US has changed its attitude and sought cooperation with China. However, China does not like free riders. It built its space station and refused to let US scientists in, which frustrates NASA, as they have to find a new home for their astronauts in space after the International Space Station retires in 2030. China also became the world's first country to bring soil back to the Earth from the far side of the Moon. On June 24, 2024, China's Chang'e 6 probe completed its mission successfully. Chinese President Xi Jinping praised the unprecedented retrieval of the soil as a landmark achievement, which is not an exaggeration at all. Since Chang'e 5 collected rock and dust samples from the Moon and returned to the Earth on December 17, 2020, the US has been interested in cooperating with China. Ironically, people found the soil samples Chang'e 5 brought to the Earth were different from what the US had taken back decades ago, sparking doubts about the long-debunked moon landing conspiracy in the late 1960s. The success of Chang'e 6 in retrieving soil from the moon's far side on June 24, 2024, marked a new era in China's space technology. The recent launch of the Shenzhou 19 spacecraft is another breakthrough, as it carries many smart devices, which can not only improve the quality of life in the cabin but also represent an important attempt to apply artificial intelligence technology in space. By the way, the ordinary Chinese are used to successful launches of spacecraft, and they are not as excited as before when China sent its first spaceship into space. Sending satellites and spaceships to outer space has become routine work, and successful launches are not top-hit news in China. China's rapid development in space not only reflects the country's technological strength, but also demonstrates the Chinese people's firm determination to pursue their space dream. For thousands of years, the Chinese have dreamed of sending people to the moon, and the spacecraft of China's lunar probes, Chang'e, is named after a Chinese goddess who flew to the moon from the Earth. Now the dream will come true shortly, as China is planning to send its astronauts to the moon by 2030 and build houses there. In sharp contrast, the United States, the so-called first country that sent its spacemen to the moon half a century ago, has encountered many unspeakable problems. Despite repeated postponements of NASA's Artemis program, the U.S. is still working hard to return to the moon. NASA says the Artemis campaign is to explore the moon for scientific discovery, technology advancement, and to learn how to live and work on another world as NASA prepares for human missions to Mars. Notably, NASA will collaborate with commercial companies like SpaceX and international partners to establish the first long-term presence on the moon. We should acclaim NASA's ambition, but unfortunately, NASA has had too many setbacks in recent years. Due to the technical failure of Boeing's spacecraft, 2 American astronauts were forced to stay on the International Space Station for nearly 5 months, and they will have to stay there for another 3 or 4 months before Elon Musk's SpaceX can take them back in February 2025. Another problem for NASA is the decommissioning of the International Space Station in 2031. A deorbit vehicle will knock the space station into the Pacific Ocean. The new space station to replace the International Space Station might be built, owned and operated by a private company, reportedly. If that private company performs like Boeing, NASA may try to use balloons to hold American astronauts in space. China has been excluded from the International Space Station, so it built its own and opened it to most countries worldwide except the United States. Many countries have expressed their desire to participate in the scientific experiment projects of the Chinese space station. However, although the United States has encountered setbacks in some areas, its overall aerospace strength should not be underestimated. Although NASA's Artemis program has been repeatedly postponed, it still demonstrates the United States' ambition to return to the moon. The United States also maintains a leading edge in deep space exploration, such as its research on Mars. But technology is always advancing. With recent successes like the launch of Shenzhou 19 and the return of Shenzhou 18, China once again demonstrated its aerospace strength to the world. China is opening a new chapter in the space industry, but its road to independent innovation in space technology has also been bumpy. Faced with the technological blockade by Western countries, Chinese astronauts overcame one technical difficulty after another through unchanging efforts. It is this spirit of independent innovation that has enabled China to become a space superpower in just a few decades. During the Shenzhou 19 mission, an intelligent robot assistant conducts in-cabin experiments for Chinese astronauts unprecedentedly. This intelligent assistant, named Xiao Tian, is not only capable of voice interaction but also can assist astronauts in completing complex scientific experiments. Moreover, Shenzhou 19 boasts an intelligent health monitoring system that can monitor the astronauts' real-time physical condition and give suggestions based on data analysis. The intelligent environmental control system can automatically adjust the temperature, humidity, and air pressure to create the most comfortable living environment for astronauts. China's journey to space is unstoppable. According to the plan of the China National Space Administration, China will establish a permanent scientific research station at the south pole of the moon after it sends its astronauts there by 2030, as we mentioned earlier. It is worth mentioning the relationship between China and the United States in space technology is full of competition, but we cannot rule out the possibility of future cooperation. Chinese President Xi Jinping says the Earth is big enough for the US and China to coexist, and the same is true with space, which is billions of times more expansive than the Earth. However, cooperation does not mean the disappearance of competition. The competition between China and the United States in space remains fierce. Even if China and the US cooperate in some areas in the future, like lunar research and Mars exploration, political factors, technological differences, and security concerns, among others, will continue to become obstacles. A handful of Americans' arrogance and ignorance, which the Wolf Amendment showed, is another problem between China and the United States in space cooperation. Thanks for watching our videos, and please subscribe to our channel if you have not done that so you will not miss our uploads every day. Like, forward and share our videos with your friends, helping DFTW become a club with 1 million subscribers shortly. Thanks again.